welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for this segment, we have Reyna. He's the head of Thematic and Specialty Product Strategy over at Invesco with an overlook at what's happening in the biotech space so far in 2023. Rene, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back to Trade Talks.
Yeah, thanks, Jill. Happy to be here.
What's your view on current performance trends within the biotech space that we've seen so far in 2023?
Yeah, so performance has been interesting. I mean, I think, if we look at 2022, generally speaking, biotech did outperform the broader market. It was a challenging year. We all seen the challenges of inflation, interest rates. And I think what's been interesting is over the last 6 months, we've really seen a rotation. And so we've seen in the biotech space, investors favor more of your large cap names, companies with diversified product pipelines, a lot of cash in the balance sheets, names like Biogen, BioMarin, Gilead Sciences is an example. And we've seen that play out through the end of last year. So from around September to the end of the year, we saw a rally of about 20%. If we fast forward to this year, two things happened. I think one, we just saw rotation. So we saw more favorability for more small cap names. Large cap names are relatively flat so far year to date. And then we've also seen investor sentiment sort of be less bullish and have appetite for risk. And so from a flow perspective, we just look at ETFs in this space. We've seen flat to general outflows within biotech.
What are some of the tailwinds and headwinds investors should be aware of within biotech?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of themes right now. So one, I think product and pipelines are going to be very important, and a lot of focus on M&A. So if I think about tailwinds, I think one is innovation. Post-COVID, there's been a lot of advancements in mRNA technology. So I think some of those advances are going to continue to take place. There's exciting opportunities within CRISPR technologies. And so, it'd be interesting to see how that evolves. And then, I think, in this space, specifically biotech, sometimes the macro backdrop matters less, and it's more focused on company names. I think there's some big announcements that are probably going to take place this year around some of those technologies. So it'd be interesting to see how that shapes the market. So clearly, innovation, I think, is one headwind that we're going to continue to watch in this particular space. Regulation, the FDA has allowed for expedited process for approvals, and so especially those therapies that are focused on serious diseases and to a point where there's really not a lot of options in those particular spaces. So I think the regulatory backdrop is as a tailwind. And I think the last part, if I think about the environment today, relative to maybe 2 years ago, is around M&A activity. So there's a lot of pent-up demand. There's a lot of companies, especially large caps, that have a lot of cash on balance sheets and are going to have to replace some of these products that are expiring beyond their patent. And so I think those are tailwinds that we're watching out for this year.
Tell us about the Invesco Nasdaq Biotech ETF, ticker IBBQ, as a way for investors to get exposure to the biotech theme.
Yeah, so right now I think there's a favorability for more large caps. So I think from a headwind perspective, valuations are interesting. I think on one side they're probably fairly valued if we look at the run up that took place last year. On the other hand, there's a lot of companies in the index, about 20, that are trading below cash values. So I think investors are going to look at this space, want to have a diversified portfolio, biotech exposure that's going to give you not only exposure to some of these large cap names that are going to be more defensive, but also some of these mid and small cap names that when the market improves, the dynamics look more favorable. These are companies that are going to do well. So IBBQ is the ticker for the Invesco Nasdaq Biotech Index. This ETF has currently 275 holdings. It's a true representation of the biotech industry. And currently, when we look at cost perspective, 19 basis points, it's very attractive. So it's a really good way for investors that want to get pure play exposure to this theme at a very reasonable cost, as it relates to ETF. So good option for investors looking to play the biotechnology theme.
All right, Rene, we appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq.
Thank you, Joe.